Welcome to the Love, Laugh, Live chat show with myself and the wonderful Dav Ubi. Pyar karo, hasota juk juk jiyo wala show.
Our show is all about creating and guiding you on how to manifest a more fulfilling life that you deserve and desire, and how to raise your consciousness through loving, laughing and living. So my name is Devinda Ruby. I'm a life and spiritual coach, and sitting next to me looking very smart again,
I do my best. My name is Gurdal Garcha and I'm an empowerment and resilience coach. So Dav, what do we have for our topic today for our lovely viewers?
So our topics, actually we're going to do this again in 2 episodes. So we're going to do the first part today, and I'm going to have to do the second part. And what we're doing is 2 parts in, we're talking about adversity, the benefits of adversity. Adversity का मतलब है कि जो मुश्किलां आंदियां, or the benefits किया, or the फायदे किया. So we normally think about the problems आंदियां, or सारा नुकसान हो गया, सारा बुरा हो गया. You know, we're talking about these 2 shows that what is the benefits of adversity, why it helps us to connect with our inner, strength in us.
Yeah.
Or we can either feel the apne jehdi kamzori, or we can feel the strength. So usually it's adversity is something we need to grow and become stronger version of ourselves.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue discussing this, and then we'll read something from our passage, and then we'll try and explain it in our words
As we go along.
So like you said, the uncomfortable truth is that your struggles or mushkila will be admired only after you become successful. So when we're going through that process of becoming successful, it means that there's going to be a bridge of incidents where we are going to attract adversity. And so we're talking about how can we turn now this adversity. So those who can adversity, just think of the word mushkila, problems. Yeah, so turning adversity, problems, mushkila into our greatest advantage, where it works in our favor. So let's face it, every single one of us encounters adversity in their lives. And not just talking about humans, this is talking about the plants, the animals, we all, because we're all evolving and growing. It can be a daily inconveniences, just like getting a parking ticket, or a painful or destructive circumstances, or like a loss of a job, or even a breakup in a relationship, or even somebody's, serious illness, or death of someone. So no one can be exempted that we all are going to face these problems, mushkil, adversity. So even though adversity, though when perceived as undesirable, something we don't want, suffering can also serve as a powerful catalyst for growth, resilience, and self-discipline.
So yeah, that's the beginning of the show, as Dav has in a really well way described it. So I'm just going to continue. So throughout human history, philosophers, great Sadhisant Mahatma, Buddha, Jesus Christ, the gurus, they all faced really, really big problems in their lives, but they never let them stop them from carrying on to doing their work, which they felt that they were sent here to do. So these spiritual leaders and thinkers from diverse cultures have sought to understand the deeper meaning of suffering and its role in shaping our lives. And many have been enlightened through our response to suffering, that we reveal our true character and potential for growth. So in other words, these amazing, great people who so many thousands and thousands of people, millions of people follow, इन्हों ने भी बहुत औखा टाइम देख के तो फिर ही उन्होंने उस ठां ते पहुंचे सीगे where so many people follow them now because of the जिन्हां प्रॉब्लमां ओ राह च नंगे सीगे, and that's how they became these really evolved, enlightened people, only because of the problems that they had in their life. There was no easy way that they became the people that they were. They only became that because of the problems that they had to face.
So they're there in our history to be role models and give examples, like mushkil ta aani hai, it's inevitable, because that's how we grow and expand. Just like a seed in the ground, it's going to be surrounded in darkness, and it's going to crack through this shell. Even that has to experience some element of suffering in order to go towards the light.
Yeah.
So even our gurus and all these amazing saints that walked the earth, this planet, they also became examples so that suffering is inevitable. It's part of our evolution and our ascension to create connect back to our true essence, which is Rab Paramatma.
And this is where, you know, Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, Nanak Dukhiya Sab Sansar, that is what life is about.
Yes.
You know? There's no way of getting away from that anybody who thinks that they can get away with it, they are not living in the real world. They're not understanding what life is about.
Exactly. So suffering, adversity is an integral part of our human experience. So adversity can serve as a teacher and guide us, ultimately helping us to forge stronger connections with others, cultivating a deeper sense of gratitude and develop this resilience needed to face the challenges, the mushkila that we have that lie ahead of us. So by embracing the lessons of suffering, we can emerge from our hardships and with a new profound wisdom, strength and a rich appreciation for the beauty and complexity of human experience. So think about just an example, let's say dunya de vich bahut hi bada calamity, there's been a huge earthquake or there's been a war. Sometimes we could be living in our little happy little world. So we decided, okay, we get so engrossed with our own little, like I said, petty little problems, and sometimes we shut our heart down. Sometimes sometimes that builds this connection because our heart opens, we really feel the love and compassion and that we really wish them well, and somehow unknowingly ਸਾਡੇ ਦਿਲ ਵੀ ਖੁੱਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ. So that allows that connection with stronger bonds with the rest of, you know, the world, the humanity. So everything has its purpose. Maybe they're suffering in another part of the world, but they are suffering, but they're helping us to open our hearts. And when we open our hearts, we're thinking about them. ਸਾਡੇ ਦਾ ਦਿਲ ਖੁੱਲਦਾ, ਸਾਡੇ ਰੱਬ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਪੇ ਸਾਡੀ connection ਵੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ. So everything's interconnected. Nothing's happening separately, and it's just something they're suffering. If they're suffering, it's having a healing impact on us as well.
Yeah, definitely. So why do some people crumble under the burden of hardship with those that never recover, while others seem to withstand the burden, heal, grow and perhaps even thrive? So this we will explain. So ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਿਲ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਤਾਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਹਰੇਕ ਤੇ ਆਉਣੀ ਆ. We don't know ਵੀ ਛੋਟੀ ਹੋਊਗੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਹੋਊਗੀ, it could be in the middle, ਪਰ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ, it could be one side where ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਡੈਗ ਪੈਣਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਸੌਰਟ ਆਊਟ ਹੁੰਦੀ, and they just reject whatever's happening and they're not living in the now. But ਦੂਜੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਵੀ ਚਲੋ ਆਹ ਪਾਣਾ ਮੰਨਣਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਆ, and they will live in ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ, which is like they will be in high spirits and understand that this is something that's not within our control, but I'm still going to understand the situation, accept it and still try and learn from it. So there's two kind of ways of dealing mainly with any kind of hardship that happens to us. So life is going to challenge you at some point. It is going to hand you something unfair. It is going to take something from you. It's going to interfere with your plans. And when it happens, you have a few choices. So you either deny, so ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਬਸ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ accept ਕਰਨਾ ਵੀ ਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਆ, or you cope with it, you accept it and think, okay, well, you know, I'll just see what happens kind of thing. Or you thrive and you think, well, all right, this has happened, but I can look at other ways of dealing with this problem in a different way. So those are the three main choices that we have. So behind every moment of adversity or problems, two things are going to happen. There's going to be a lesson and there is going to be a blessing. So this is what we have to remember. We can't see a solution, but what we have to understand is through that problem or you know, really big issue, we will grow from it. But it's about understanding, learning and thinking that this is for my higher good, and I do have to, in some way, shape or form, I will grow from this, and then after a time there will be a blessing, but that is all going to take time. So
that some challenges you've had in your life, but if it weren't for those mushkila, you won't be where you are today. It's helped you to go to another job, another relationship, or you're taking care of yourself. Without that problem, you wouldn't be able to have actually evolved and become a better version of yourself. So instead of wallowing and thinking, you got to say to yourself, you just got to have that attitude of feeling, you know, I've got to be open-minded about this. So if you focus on the adversity, wallowing, like we said, in the fact that you have failed, it is important to remember life is 10% or what actually happens to you, and 90% what you do about it. And what we do 90% most of the time, we go into this blame game. Victim mindset. You know, मेरे नाल होना चाहिए सी. You know, what have I done? मैं तो कुछ किया नहीं. I'm always there helping. मेरे नाल तो क्यों होया यार? मैंने क्यों सजा मिली? मेरे कर्मा क्यों? मेरे कर्म ऐसा नहीं मारे हो गए. It's nothing like that at all. You know, jodo vi taklif aa rahi hai, that is just our blessing. It's a blessing in disguise. Rab, or what you call higher consciousness, saying you are ready now to have something better in your life, but you have to let go of the old way of thinking, an old way of functioning through life. But sometimes we get so attached to that, thinking that's the only way I know, as there's something better for us, and we won't go to that better place unless something dramatic happens.
Yeah.
So, when you fail, it's really not a failure, like we just said. So I'm going to talk about this movie. It's on Netflix. It's
Barmi Fail.
It's 12th Fail or Barmi Fail. It's based on a true story. It's something that happened in probably 1997. And it was this man who lived in the village. And Manoj Kumar Sharma. I'm sure
it's a true story.
It's a true, very true story. And I just loved watching that movie because it explains to you so simply that but without this mushkila, he would be this great top police officer in India. So he came from a village, बहुत गरीब सीगे, but ਉਹਦਾ dad ਸੀਗਾ, he believed in honesty and people should live to their integrity and everything. But most of the people in the village, they were very manipulated and weren't allowed to really...
Very backward, really.
Yeah, they weren't allowed to pursue their potentials because they wanted to keep them unpad. Because then they would actually work out how the government or whoever's in the leadership, they were scheming up to something. So they always made them fail barmi which. But in a shang that I want to become something of myself. So he got inspired by this police officer. Even though my village doesn't allow me to do it. So anyway, he trusted in his own credibility and thinking ma karke channa. So pind chhad ke he goes to Delhi, and on the way raste the dadi gave him a whole life savings. And I won't say for them it's a lot of money, but that was enough to get him to get a little place in Delhi or some food to eat. But raste chori ho gaye.
Yeah.
So what happened was, because chori honde na pehla he's completely devastated, thinking mama saite tak pahunchiya just to leave the village, because it was very difficult just to get out the village. But I think home ki kara sadkan ch sowing, so nowhere to sleep, nothing to eat, but if that challenge, adversity didn't come into his life, it wouldn't have pushed him to, because he wanted to be a police officer, but it pushed him into another direction. He met someone, Rastej, that he took him to a place where he was going to be the top policeman, not just the average policeman. So this is what we're trying to say. Tadi Rabia, Tadi High Conscious has bigger plans for us. We still think I'm only enough for this much. So jud adversity and that's saying that Rab has something bigger for us.
But it's just trusting the process.
Trusting the process.
And just fighting for it and not giving up. There's just so much in the adversity. Yeah. It's about courage, it's about strength, it's about resilience. Because if you're talking about Barmi Fail or anything, but most people, what they say, they give up.
Yeah.
And they don't know that it was just around the corner, but they've given up. So unfortunately, they go back to living their life that they didn't really want to live, and this is what happens to most people. But this man never gave up, and he, with all his strength, it just happened. It was divine intervention as well, but it was his own inner strength, knowing that he could achieve something so big. And he never gave up, so it's an amazing film to watch.
Amazing film that he just...
And it's on Netflix, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such a... Because recently I know on Netflix, it's a good thing to watch after you watch this show, because that movie will explain the real example of what we're talking about. I know we've been quite...
Definitely.
It's very theory-wise, isn't it? But that will explain practically what we're talking about. That whenever we hit some sort of calamity, some sort of... that actually means that when we're that close to a breakthrough, so the problem and that means the endiness had a breakthrough and next evolution. So So adversity gives you an opportunity to step out your comfort zone and embrace a new way of thinking and functioning and building a new skill. Otherwise you would not have done, like just like him, he never thought that he'd be a top police officer. Or that I'm a normal police officer, but that's what actually happened. The adversity mushkilayan is saying that you are worthy of something even better. So we are all born with these innate talents and gifts that often conditioned by society, family or culture that we're not worthy of, pursuing our dreams. So this is when adversity hits us to wake us up and to wake up to the hidden, suppressed inner strength and talents. So we sometimes suppress this inner strength and talents because we probably been told when we were young, oh, you're not capable of this, things like that.
Yeah.
But the adversity, like he says, a blessing, it's sort of like it hits you hard and it says to it, no, you are capable of it.
And it forces you.
It pushes you, and that's what happened to this lovely guy. And this movie, you'll really enjoy it.
So let's understand the transformative power of adversity or suffering. So we've talked about barmi fail bi jadon thanu problem aunदी है भी how can you transform that into something that is successful, so you're going from a problem to success. So this helps build resilience. So we're talking about adversity, we're talking about suffering. So one helps build resilience is often seen as the ability to recover from setbacks, adapt to change and keep going in the face of adversity. So it is an essential life skill that can be developed and strengthened through experience of suffering. When we face challenges or hardships, we are forced to confront our limitations and develop coping strategies to overcome them. So by experiencing suffering, we are essentially being tested, and this helps to build a resilience muscle, just as a physical exercise strengthens our muscles. Going through difficult experiences helps to forge our resilience. So with each challenge we face, we learn more about ourselves, our values and our strength, which better prepares us for future difficulties. So what does this mean? A great example is the film Mother India. Je tusi film dekhi Mother India, her husband left her, she was left with 2 children, very young children. She had to plough the field, and she did so much, and that film did win an Oscar from what I remember.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
And it's such a powerful movie because all the problem on the alien, right up until she kind of died, I think. But she never gave up. She just kind of rolled with the punches, and it just shows you, no matter what Mother India or the mother of those children went through, she never gave up. It made her stronger. She was working the fields the same as all the other men were. So no matter what was happening, she never gave up. And then she did get to a point where life was good. I remember them, they're celebrating Holi and all these other things. So that's a real good example of resilience and overcoming problems and adversity. And also there's one really good quote that I remember: what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So because as long as we're breathing, we have to continue. Whether we sit on the sofa and do nothing, we still are breathing, and in some form, shape or form, we're existing. So we can't ever really give up. But it's to what point do you think that, I'm going to continue, I'm going to try and do my best, and that's what we're talking about, because you can go so much further, but it's just sort of kind of working with every single issue that comes up and understanding it is for your higher good.
Yeah, and the next one, which we discuss about the power of adversity, is fostering empathy and compassion. That's what happens when
it's
we
so
do.
Important.
Yeah, and so when we endure hardships, we gain first-hand knowledge of what it feels like to be vulnerable, and through difficult situations, this personal experience can then help us to understand everybody else, through their struggles and through their fears, and it's allowing us to approach them with empathy and compassion. By developing these qualities, we become more understanding people and supportive individuals, which can lead to deeper and more meaningful relationships and connections with those around us. Empathy is the ability to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and feel their emotions, while compassion is a willingness to alleviate another's suffering. And when we have experienced suffering ourselves, it becomes easier to really identify and connect with pain in others. So I really do believe this. I'm sure in the past we did this show about
Siddhartha.
Yeah, no, that's sad. I'm also talking about, remember we did the show about the well of despair?
Yeah.
We did this show, so to really help somebody's in the pit of the well.
Yeah.
The only person that can really understand that person in the well is they went down there, they've already been down, they know what it feels like. Those are the people that can really, really help somebody. If somebody's not been in the pit of the well before and trying to advise and coach or whatever, they won't really, really be that helpful and supportive. It's going to be on the surface. But when you've really gone through the pain yourself and then you interact with that person, there's a really powerful interaction will happen where there's healing occurs. So this is so important that adversity, then we become more compassionate to other people who are going through it. So there's an ancient story that illustrates how suffering can foster empathy and compassion. It's a tale of Siddhartha Gautam, who would later become Buddha. So born a prince, Siddhartha lived a sheltered and privileged life, protected from realities of the realities of the rest of the world, of the suffering and pain. So one day he decided to venture out and beyond the palace walls and encounter the harsh realities of life, witnessing old age, sickness, and even death. This exposure to suffering profoundly affected Siddhartha, that was leading him to renounce his privileged life in search of deeper understanding of suffering and the means to alleviate it. So eventually he attained enlightenment and became the Buddha, dedicating his life to teaching others a path to overcoming suffering and achieving inner peace. His own experiences with suffering allowed him to develop deep sense of compassion and empathy for others. So to be honest, we are all Buddhas, every single one of us. He's, again, another role model saying that, when we sort of have to experience adversity, problems, we also, once we allow ourselves to embrace it and feel the process of it, we also become enlightened in some way that we can, evolve and understand other people and become compassionate and be empathetic towards other people. So we're all living through that. So alleviate suffering in others, we also have to endure those sort of adversities and challenges. So we are all Buddhas to some extent, that we also have gone through that suffering and pain, but instead of wallowing in it, which Buddha, that's where he became enlightened, instead of wallowing in it, he actually allowed himself to see, actually, how is this working in my favor? What is this making? The enlightenment comes from not him just feeling blissful all the time. The enlightenment came through Buddha, actually allowing himself to feel the suffering and not judge it, actually seeing the bigger picture, why is this happening? And not to see this is working against me, this is working for me. That's how he became enlightened. So that's how we also become enlightened. We're becoming the Buddha form once we see the lesson in it and seeing how it's happening in our favor and not working against us.
And that's where all the growth lies as well.
Yeah.
So the next one, how to overcome adversities in this respect, is this provides opportunities for personal growth. So ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਜੋ ਕੁਛ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ we're always growing. We are like a plant, even though we may not see ourselves like that. And only through these problems can we grow and understand and empathize, have compassion, all of the things that Dav's just mentioned. So these often present opportunities for self-development by prompting us to engage in self-reflection and reassess our priorities and values. So ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਆ ਫਿਰ ਇੱਕਦਮ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸੋਚਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਆ ਕਿ ਆ ਮੇਰੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਇਆ ਤਾਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ, just imagine ਤੂਫਾਨ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਹੋਗਾ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਕੀ ਕਰਾਂ, how can I overcome this problem? So we have to go to a deeper place to think, because sometimes life is just going quite smoothly, all of a sudden something happens, and then we have to put a different mindset on. Sadi fi sochni badalni pani hai, because we can't just carry on thinking the way we did. If a big problems come, we've got to think outside of our comfort zone. So when we face challenges, we're confronted with our limitations, our beliefs, and our emotional responses. So this process of introspection can reveal areas where we can grow and develop. Just imagine, like, you know, somebody's had a car crash, so one person's going to get out of the car and start screaming and shouting. Another person in the other car might think, you know what, oh, it's just a bump. I've got insurance, it's okay, it's no big deal. Nobody's got hurt. So this is where we're talking about our growth. One person's accepted that this has happened, and they're calm and they're reflective and they're not angry with the other person, because accidents happen. You know, this is what life is about. This is what adversities are about. So, you know, it's a process of introspection, and it ultimately is leading to a deeper understanding of ourselves. If we're that person who's angry, shouting and stuff, it's not good to be that person, because it means you're not really in control and accepting the situation for what it is at that specific time. So during difficult times, we may question all our actions, beliefs and motivations, and consider how they align with our values. Did I feel good when I was shouting at that other person? You know, how did that make me feel? Is it something I would want my children or my family to see? So suffering can be a catalyst for this transformative process, pushing us to become more self-aware, adaptable and resilient individuals. A practical example is someone who loses their job unexpectedly. Initially, the loss may lead to feelings of uncertainty, disappointment and anxiety, and that's completely normal in any situation like that. However, this experience can also prompt the individual to reevaluate their career paths, passions and priorities. As a result, they may decide to pursue a different line of work, develop new skills, or focus on personal relationships and hobbies that bring fulfillment. In this way, the experience of suffering can lead to significant self-improvement and more authentic, meaningful life. So for instance, you know, you might be in a job that you've been in for 10 years and you actually hate it. So when all of a sudden you've lost your job, yes, it's going to make you feel upset, anxious and worried, but that might also at the same time give you an opportunity to go and train for something completely different, and that it's almost like giving you another chance to reevaluate your life, where you're going, what you want to do, and push you in a direction of you know, doing something completely different. So I know we were talking earlier, and Davin, we were mentioning a student who was bullied when they were at school, and it was awful. It was really, really bad. This student was bullied to the point where he was beaten quite badly on a regular basis. So instead of just wallowing and thinking that's it, you know, my life's over and all those kind of things, he decided that he was going to learn some kind of self-defense. So he learned karate. But that karate didn't just finish there. It then, you know, it evolved to a place where he became an instructor. He became a leader for so many other individuals, organizations, places. So, you know, from that awful place of being a victim, he became victorious. And he showed people that, you know what, even though your life in that time, at that time, which would have been really, really hard for him, he grew and grew and grew to come to a place, well, actually, had that bullying not have taken place, it would not have led him to the life he then started to lead. So he was thriving as a result of being treated really badly. And that is a lot of people. When you look back at, you know, so many different amazing stars, you'll find that they've come from a place of being a victim to them becoming victorious.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
He won a lot of awards, tournaments, and
yeah.
But look, this example again. If he wasn't being bullied, he wouldn't have pursued that path. He wouldn't even thought of learning karate. But the person is bullying him, or that soul contract, see, they know that he had to behave that with him. Otherwise, he would not able to learn the karate. That he also karate sikhe that he needed to help other people to learn.
So there's such a much bigger picture
going on,
and it's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Because it started off with the bullying, but then it went to such a big place. So he's actually helped, who knows, over thousands of people.
I'm sure as you're listening to the show now, I'm sure a lot of you getting, you know, memories or stories you must have heard that lots of things have happened in, especially our histories when my parents grew up, to the partition and things like that. And over that, it was such a horrific time, but it pushed them to do, you know, to go and live in certain places, or
travel abroad
and even educate themselves in different ways. But look, otherwise they wouldn't have not done it. Everything has a bigger purpose.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, if you think about so many thousands of people who came over to improve their lives, and that's taking such a big risk. It wasn't just for the one person, it was for the whole family. And I know that's happening a lot in India, especially, where so many children, young adults are leaving the villages to make their lives better. And I think that's an amazing thing. But then they have to face so many adversities. I mean, I'll give you one example, because we've got enough time to do this. One of my relations with her daughter, they'd always lived in the village, which is great, and their lifestyle is completely different to ours. You know, we have to take the children to school, we have to go and pick them up, we have to do everything, whereas there, the child literally stands outside the house, and a little, I don't know, minibus thing will pick them up, take them to school. It's very safe, very secure, bring them back, drop them off. So they don't have this hassle of dropping and picking and parents being outside school and things like that. So, and then all of a sudden they've gone to Canada only for a holiday, and they'd never flown before. They'd only ever stayed sort of in the Punjab. So they'd never, well, we have been outside of the Punjab and stuff like that. But now, all of a sudden, they had to catch 3 flights. Now, the younger daughter was, she's only probably about 12 or 13. She was terrified because of the pressure. Now, we understand the pressure because, you know, we've been flying for so many years. And even if you only do it once a year, you know what to expect. But to go from a village where the only thing you've ever really worried about is getting onto this little minibus or travelling in your dad's car, or maybe taking a bus, to then going flying and catching 3 flights can you imagine? And they're still in Canada, they are going to be coming back, but her daughter was absolutely petrified. She didn't enjoy the journey because it was so scary, because it was so far out of her comfort zone. But at the end of it, it's talking about the growth.
She's done it now, and then next time she'll get better and better.
But that's such a big thing, though. You know, if you've only ever kind of your comfort zone is just so small.
I think we all done. It's like, I remember when I started driving, I was scared of driving on motorways. Still am to some extent. But the pehla bahut dar lagta, you know, and the more you do it, you do get better. But anything new you do, it does make you stronger, and you actually build up your self-esteem and confidence. But that's not going to happen until you have to, you know, the adversity is in there, that the sensation, the fear that you feel, it is sometimes going to overwhelm you, and you just got to just learn to just be calm and be okay with it. But it can be really, really scary, the whole process.
And you know what, I think to do anything that's different, it can be anything, and we talk about the radio, you know, like we've learned how to do different skills through doing this, and we know that we've come massively, even though you watching us probably think, oh, you know, this is just so easy. But it really, really isn't. You know, I remember when we first started doing these shows, I was sweating, my heart was going, and it was just so scary.
It was.
But, you know, and the good thing with doing these shows, as much as we love doing them and we feel quite comfortable now, is that we've grown so much to the point where, you know, we would be discussing these programs for days and days, but now we're quite comfortable and we just kind of flow with it, and we have a laugh with it, whereas at the beginning we didn't laugh very much at all.
No, we didn't.
Because we're so focused and we didn't want to make any mistakes but this just goes to show.
But we like our mistakes now.
So, but now we've gone to a place of embracing our mistakes, and I think that helps the viewers, or you viewers as well, to relate with us, because it just shows that life is all about. I'm not saying we're
trial
suffering.
And error.
We're not suffering because of it, because we choose to laugh about it. But and that's a good way of coping with any kind of adversities. But we understand that to get to where we are now, we had to jump through a lot of mental hoops, not physical hoops. But I mean, you know, it has taken us absolutely ages. This is the 3rd year that we've been doing this now.
I know.
And I mean, if we haven't got it sorted out now, then God help us. But we're choosing to embrace it. And the growth comes from the fact that we're constantly learning. We're not just doing the same thing every day or every week. We're choosing different topics that even we have to learn. And sometimes we find
experience it as well.
Exactly. We find that we're experiencing these kind of problems. And actually, even going through this, it makes us self-reflect and think, actually, you know what, it's not easy. Growth is not easy. You know, we'd all like to sit and watch Netflix and hope whatever the problem is will go away, but that's not life. And I love Guru Nanak Dev Ji's quote of Nanak Dukhiya Sab Sansar. You know, we all have to go through this in order to grow. And also, it's not even just for our growth, it's for our children.
For the whole of the planet.
Exactly. But also our children look at us because they're looking at us for inspiration, as in how are we coping with different problems? Do we just start screaming and running around the house? You know, like, you know, the house is going to fall down or whatever. You know that story, was it the little red hen that used to think that the sky was falling down? And
was it?
Do you remember?
No.
Oh, never mind.
I thought 3 little pigs.
Yeah, the wolf. That's a brilliant story. Because if you think about it, the first pig made the house of straw.
Yes, and then there wasn't that much effort in it.
Yeah, so his house got blown down. Then the second one made it out of sticks. So this is all growth, isn't it? I mean, it's a great analogy. Linking in with this really nicely. And this is what you call, you know, working ad hoc, spontaneous, resilience. And then the second one did it out of sticks, so his house caught fire. But the third one, do you remember what his house was? Bricks. And he couldn't blow the house down. So at each stage, there was growth going on. There was still the fear, because they were always still scared of the wolf coming in, eating them up or whatever they were doing.
See, they were going through a process, each little pig. So when it first did it, obviously it was the first one was straw, wasn't it? Was it straw?
Yeah.
And then he's thinking, well, I've done something well here. I'm really chuffed with myself. And then obviously something say, you know, you could do even better than this. So that house had to be knocked down. Or dani karna siga. So then with the sticks, even that had to be knocked down, otherwise he wouldn't have bothered. Then he went to the bricks. So each time we're having an upgrade. Every time we have an adversity, a challenge, we're having an upgrade. Otherwise we would not have done. And I know it sounds crazy, but we don't wish ill or bad on anyone. But at the same time, to the mushkil problem andaviya, we got to see, actually, this is happening for our favor. It koi pala hega ya. You know, so we just got to understand through watching these episodes that what is the pala in my situation now, to health issue, kuch bhi ho. So let me just talk about this one, and then we can explain this what I'm just saying. So the fourth one is the power of adversity is enhancing gratitude, shukrana, the value karniya. So adversity, suffering can help us develop a greater appreciation for the positive aspects of our lives by highlighting the contrast between our hardships and the good things we often take for granted. When we face difficulties, we are more likely to notice and cherish the moments of joy, love, and happiness that we experience. This heightened awareness of the positive aspects of our lives can foster a sense of gratitude, which has been shown to improve overall well-being, both mentally and physically. So if you had only one prayer, if you had in your whole life, let it be the prayer of just saying thank you. It is enough to shape your life with a greater well-being and happiness. So, I mean, all I know, talking about some people I knew in the past.
It's her extended family. Or friends. Extended. You
know, had a very, very negative attitude towards life, and people she's very close related to. So always finding things to complain and nag them about. And very petty little things. But as soon as that particular person in her life fell ill, and then she realized, oh my God, she goes, those are things I was complaining about, those are things I'm so missing the most. You don't appreciate it at the time, you take it for granted. Or geez, now she wishes that person gets better and those are things I actually look forward to. So this is what happens with adversity. It helps you to snap out your negative attitude towards life and people, and more sort of like, let's change my assumptions and my thought process, and let's focus on the good qualities of this particular person or job or anything. So this is where we need to cultivate more gratitude. As in, then we're able to handle adversity much more easily, because we're able to see, all right, I'm more grateful. And just like what happened in the COVID, we were so then appreciating so much how much life we took for granted, just the food, easily going shops and going out and about. Social life. And then when we were at home, we realized that we really had a lot of things, we just took it for granted. So it made us value the small things in life that we took for granted, small things like just making things from home, from scratch, just your family time, having, just having more interaction with your family that we took for granted. We thought, I'll see them at the weekend, or I'll speak to them next week. But now we realize during COVID, anything could happen anytime. Gal ho na ho, that sort of thing. So at least now I can spend more time appreciating every little moment, because really that COVID really made people, it's a wake-up call. That adversity was a wake-up call. Kuch bhi ho sakta anytime. We just don't know what's lying ahead of us. But if you're already focusing on this attitude of gratitude, we already can able to handle any sort of adversity, come knowing that jo kuch e mushkil aa rahe hain, eh cho mere vaste koi fayda hi hai.
I mean, that's a beautiful way of describing it. But sometimes, going back to what you're saying, even our health, we can be walking around complaining about this, complaining about that. Then all of a sudden, I've always said this throughout, people who complain, sometimes God, source, the universe will give you something properly to complain about.
Yeah.
And that's when you'll realize, I was just complaining about shortiya motiya gallan, but now, I've got a real problem and I've got to handle it, deal with it, and cope with it. And now I wish I'd just, gone back to how my life was just so easy and simple. But although pata lagda hai, jadon ਤੁਹਾਡੀ life ਤੇ ਅਖਿਆਈ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਆ ਕਿ I should just really appreciate the smallest things. For me, the smallest things are, like you've always said, having a cup of tea, being able to get in the car, go and visit your family, go for a walk, all these things that we just do all the time, but we don't do them consciously. So ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਆ, and ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ, give it a go, have a try, because you don't know where that's going to lead. And if there is a problem in your life, and like we've said, we don't wish anything upon anybody. We're not in control anyway, but we're just saying that, you just have to look at it in a way that's, well, is there anything I can do about this situation? If there is, great. If there isn't, well, I'm going to have to look at life differently, with a different set of lens, with a different attitude, with a different mindset, in order to overcome that problem so that I can still enjoy my life. And that's what we're talking about, and getting to a point where, if you're doing something and it's really hard and you're struggling, you will get through it, you will succeed, but it just might take, 12 fails before you get to that point.
Yeah.
So it's just about embracing life where you are now, but also understanding that it's not going to remain like that. And how would you cope if something like that? And I think sometimes, for me personally, it's where, loving your family, caring about your family, enjoying spending time with your family, because like you've just said, who knows whether they're going to be here tomorrow or whether I'm going to be here tomorrow. So I want to just enjoy the good days, and when the bad days or adversities or problems arrive, hopefully I'll be able to cope with them, because I've been so blessed up to now. But everything that goes up is going to come down. That is the way life works.
It's when even the downs and the growth on the where we actually expand and connect more with our Rab de naal. That dukh taklif comes just to reconnect back to God, because we've gone too distracted with the worldly life, material
stuff.
And
Kaam, krodh, lobh, moh.
And then we also got to remember that when we get too fixated on our career or certain person or relationship or some form of addiction, and we're neglecting our well-being and our health. You know, we think that's not important. I don't need to focus on this. Going out, I'll just eat this or I'll just drink this. You know, but we're too focused on thinking our life importance depends on how we come across in our status in the world, in our position, in our job. You know, anything to do with outside materialistic thing. But ਜਦੋਂ ਸਿਹਤ ਦਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਰੱਖਦੇ, if you're not looking after your well-being, and then something happens to your well-being, your health, all those things that you investing so much time and energy has no meaning. कोई value नहीं हैगी, कोई मतलब नहीं हैगी, जे सेहत नहीं हैगी, the rest of it doesn't mean anything. You're not going to enjoy it. It's
health is wealth.
Yeah, exactly. So the most important thing here, before we can really enjoy the other gifts of life that God said, this is like a playground. You can enjoy all those good, you know, rewards and things. But the most important thing, apna sharir is like a temple. See, look after karo. You know, not just what we eat and drink, is what we feed ourselves with the mental diet. So not just the food diet, but the mental diet. Make sure you're feeding yourself with very good, positive, you know, self-concept, you know, saying, being complimentary to yourself, you know, say nice things to yourself. So when you're doing all of these things that raise your vibration and you're in a positive place, for under let's say gumari heavy or we take on light in there. So if we take care of, put ourselves number one, taking care of ourselves, then we can enjoy the rest of the things in the world. This is about enhancing gratitude, like thank you God, thank you for my healthy body, my mind, my cells. You know, if I'm healthy, then everybody else, I'm good enough for everything else in the world. But we always put ourselves at the bottom of the list. It's going out, I'll go walk some other day. I'll go to the gym. I say, oh, I don't need to go to the gym. I'm waste. Or I don't need to go to the yoga. You know, it's a waste of time. So no, put yourself on the top of the list.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, and sometimes it's like you don't realise that you start to feel down. Yeah. You know, it just happens in such a way that it just consumes you. Why am I feeling down? And that's when, you know, you think you don't know that you're neglecting yourself. But then when you talk to somebody, you know, like we're talking about, well, have you exercised?
No.
Have you?
Should we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this little thing. Okay.
We've
so I'm going to say.
We've got time.
We've got time. So I'm pretend. Okay. My teeth nahi hegi. I don't know why. I just don't feel good.
Have you exercised?
No.
Have you drank water?
No.
Have you been outside?
No.
Have you been eating healthy?
No.
Have you made any plans?
No, I haven't.
Have you been talking to anyone?
No.
Have you been limiting your scrolling time on your phone? Did you get enough sleep?
No.
Did you exercise today?
No.
Well, there you go.
There you are. Explains exactly why I'm not feeling good. So if you're not doing these things, naturally you're not going to feel good. So I can't say no to everything. I'm not bothered about any of those things because I'm too busy thinking I need to
do the ironing, do the washing.
I've got to impress other people. I've got to look a certain way for, you know, to just be accepted by society. But not realizing these are the most important things that we need to do.
Yeah. Because we are in a you know, habit of making things, you know, making other people happy. But what's really, really important is to make ourselves happy. But going back to the adversity, we're just going to be finishing off. So in conclusion to the first part of our show, of the two shows, is challenges and hardships can reveal our true character and potential. So by facing adversity, we are given the opportunity to recognize our strengths, weaknesses, and areas where we can grow. So through this self-awareness, we can make deliberate choices that lead to self-improvement. So, and a more fulfilled life. So have a think about that. You know, when there is a problem, कोई भी problem हो सकती है, छोटी हो भी, if you react in a way, जिदा कहते हैं पंजाबी च कहते हैं ऊंट दा पहाड़ बनाता है, you know, it's just a small thing, but some people will make it into a really big thing. Well, how will those same people cope with a really big problem? It's really, this is the where people just fall down, and it's very difficult to cope with anything. And this is where we need to understand that there's always going to be room for growth. We can always improve ourselves, and to the point where, you know, we are comfortable, we can enjoy our life, but also understand and accept that kal da koi pata nahi hega, you know, we don't know what life is going to throw at us. So in a way, you know, it's good to have that in the back of your mind, and it does go back to gratitude. Appreciate what you've got today, because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. You may or may not have them, or some really big calamity could happen, and you know, you won't be in that same place.
So just remember, Sachi, next time koi mushkil aave, koi problem, adversity aave, just remember, this is just redirecting me to something better and bigger. Could be anything, smallest thing or the biggest thing, a loss of a house, loss of a relationship, health reasons, or just missing the bus, or missing the train, or missing a flight. Each misha koi na koi side vaste benefit hega ya, 100%.
And that's if you're willing to just carry on and think, chalo, chal ho. You know, my mum used to say that, chal ho, meri kismet and all that. But she was never somebody that wallowed in it. She just accepted life, and she got on with it, and she just coped, and she never sort of felt like, hai maina kati idda hoiya. She accepted it and she moved on. So that was really amazing thing. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to you joining us for the second part of this adversity show.
So the second part is going to be about simple methods how to you can overcome adversity. So please tune in for that. Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.